One. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. This has been a long time. I haven't recorded in quite some time. A lot has happened in the last 2.5 months. My wife and I had a little boy, Lucas. He's doing well. He'll be 2 months right here on the 2nd. We're recording right here on the 1st. Yeah, life has happened, and a lot has happened since I have spoken to my guest today, Robby Ramos. You know, the last time you were hinting at some sort of stuff, Robby Ramos will be seen in the upcoming series Heels as Diego Cottonmouth. It's on Starz, right?
That's right, sir.
Man, this is
That's right.
amazing. You
Yeah,
see,
brother.
this is a thing that I was telling people, like, and I mentioned this if you listen to a lot of the earlier podcasts, is that a lot of the people and the guests on my earlier episodes, I said, just keep an eye out for these people. You're going to see them blow up within the next year, 2 years. It's going to be huge. And guess what? It's happening for you right now. It's going to be big, and it's just beginning.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy, dude. We haven't spoken since what, September, I think it was.
Yeah,
September.
you were very cryptic about the audition process, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's just happening.
Yeah, I had just moved to Atlanta to shoot Heels.
Yeah,
And bro, it was crazy. And then I was also, I had a kid and
yeah.
my
Congrats.
wife was pregnant at the time. Now we had my daughter in February.
Yeah,
So it's just been, bro, it's been a crazy year and a half.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I'm excited about what's coming, dude. Finally, the show's gonna come out August 15th,
yeah.
and we have a premiere that's coming up over in LA, and I'm flying out for that on the 10th, August 10th. I'll be out there, and then I'm also gonna get some podcasts in because I got that podcast that's coming out.
Yeah.
Dropping character. Yeah, dude, that's exciting.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a little
Hell yeah.
bit. Definitely.
So a lot going on, dude. And at the same time, it's like a lot of hurry up and wait type of thing. It's just waiting around, dude.
Yeah.
So then also trying to find like what do I do in the meantime?
Are you
And
able to
for the most,
audition?
yeah, I've been auditioning, but not a lot has been coming in, man. So it's really just been about trying to spend time with my family. My wife and my
Yeah.
daughter. And I'm here in Miami, so
Yeah.
I got my parents here. I got her parents here. We got our nieces and nephews and and her brothers and my brother, my sister. So I've just been spending time with family, which in a way, man, is a blessing in itself. I try to remind myself of that, bro. Like, because sometimes you get antsy. You're like, when's this next job coming? When is the possible Heels season 2 starting and all this shit? You kind of live in the
Yeah.
future always. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to kind of be in the moment, bro. I mean, with you, it's similar right now. I mean, everything you got coming on in the near future, but it's like trying to be there, just be there with the fam, dude. You know,
Yeah.
because it
Dude,
can change quickly, brother.
that's I think this whole time I've been in Texas, it's been, I was telling you before we started recording, I haven't worked in 2 years, you know,
Yeah,
and I spent a lot of time throughout this last 2 years, mainly in the last year and a half, during COVID, just wondering. I started this podcast thinking that I was never going to work again. You know what I mean? And and it's just like really like well,
I know.
mainly because I thought I was going to die from COVID, because you know how they said everyone was dying, and
Yeah.
it was like going to turn into the apocalypse, and it was a dystopian future,
Bro, it
but
felt like it, dude. No
it
joke.
it did, man. And they're trying to keep that passion alive, and it's like, come on. But I think what I really had to like remind myself of every day is like what you're saying right now, is that you have to like enjoy the moment. You have a kid,
Yeah,
and from February till now, have you seen how fast she's grown?
dude, insane, bro.
Just wait from here till February, and then from
Yeah,
February till the next July. Like, we were looking at pictures from like a year ago of our
yeah,
daughter,
yeah.
and it's crazy how
How old is she
fast they
now,
grew.
bro?
She's two.
Yeah,
She's two. And from her first birthday to her second birthday, it's crazy. Within the last, I mean, since Christmas time, things have changed. She's talking a lot more. She's climbing, dancing, putting like sentences together. And you're gonna start seeing that, man. And if you start thinking about like, oh, Heel season 2, is that gonna happen? Or man, am I gonna get this movie? Or it's like, is there another show like you could do simultaneously with Heels? Like, it's you kind of like sometimes you look back at the end of the day, it's like, oh man, I missed something, or I should have paid more attention to that. Like, and I think about that constantly, dude. So it's good that you're focusing on what's right there in front of you, man. Because that's what's important. That's what you're living for.
Yeah, I know, dude. I know. I'm trying to do that, man. It's so hard in our business because um you
Yeah.
just don't know what's going to happen next month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't know how much of a hustle you should put in, and you know, we're our minds are always racing on how do we get the next project, you know?
Yeah.
So dude, it's hard, man. It's hard
Yeah.
to train myself, to kind of be like, dude, slow down. You're doing the most that you can at this moment. Try
Yeah.
and enjoy the time with your family, bro. So that's
Even
really
like
what I've
the
focused on.
question I was going to ask you about that is that you just worked a full season,
Yeah.
right? Working from a few months, right? On an awesome show, where you get to wrestle, you get to do a lot
Dude,
of fun stuff with some funny guys too.
mm-hmm.
Did you ever think that once you were done that you weren't going to like work again? Like you didn't even need to think about that. You just had this wonderful experience, but it's like you think about this and then you see someone else book something. You're like, oh my God, I got to keep up.
Yeah, bro, of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what level of the game, you're on. It's like you're always thinking about, damn, this person is doing this or is doing that. I'm sure
Yeah.
Kevin Hart has that, bro. And how high up
Yeah.
the ladder do you want to get, dude? But you keep on with that kind of thing. Or you think of The Rock or all these people who are crazy successful. They for sure are looking at other people and being like, oh fuck, I gotta get step my game up. But dude, I was on set. So we shot it from August of so I went to Atlanta August 16th and I left. We had a month break in December for the holidays, but we officially wrapped on Heels April, dude, I think it was like April 6 or 7, bro. So think about that, man. It's a long time out there.
Yeah.
Um
Was your
and
family with you, your wife and your daughter?
No, so my wife stayed down here because she was pregnant, and our
Yeah.
doctor was down here and she was going to give
Yeah.
birth down here. And so, and then my whole family and her family, it's two big families, and they really helped her, and we're able to kind of be around all the time. If she was up there with me, she went up a few times and just kind of hung out there, 1 week, 2 weeks here and there, every month we would see each other, find a way. But besides that, man, yeah, I was out there, just by myself. Then the first month of so I drove down to Miami. Production was kind enough to let me go for a week.
Yeah.
And so when Vienna was born, my daughter, I drove down, dude. I drove down from Atlanta. I had a night shoot that day. I finished the night shoot, and right straight from there, it was like probably I left set like at 11 p.m. and I drove all the way down to Miami. I got here. Uh, I slept like 4 hours, and then the next day was the was her scheduled C-section, dude. So it was
Oh,
just
so you made it just in time.
yeah, bro. It was so crazy, dude. Only now I'm kind of looking back on it and being like, wow, bro, no wonder I had anxiety. You know what I mean? I was like, of course, bro. Of course you did, dude. And you know what ended up happening, bro, is that while I was shooting and while all of that was happening, I was just kind of like, surviving, right? You're just kind of doing it, you're getting through it. When it ended, bro, when we finished shooting in April, and my daughter and my wife eventually came up. They came up a month after she was born.
Mhm.
So I was there for the birth, and then right the next day I had to drive back to Atlanta
Yeah.
to continue shooting. But then a month later they came up to Atlanta, and so they were with me for the last 2 months there of shooting. But at the end of shooting, dude, when I finished, the anxiety, bro, came with a vengeance, dude. I guess because I had just
Yeah.
I put my body and my mind through so much, dude, in that amount of time. It all came
Yeah.
up just flooding, dude, and I didn't know
Yeah.
where it was coming from, bro. And I had to, it took a good like month and a half for me to like really settle in and start to feel like myself again, and have control over my thoughts, bro. Really.
Was it anxiety from not working again, or anxiety of how are you going to take care of your family, or is it just all everything of like COVID and all
Yeah, brother. I
everything?
think it was everything, dude. It was everything, but it was mostly that because I was so stressed all the time while I was on set, and it was either thinking about the character, thinking about shooting on for my first time being on a real TV series for any extended period of time, and then like being away from my family for some time, and then having them come, and now she's a month old, and now I'm sleeping with them, and she's crying
Yes.
at night, and I'm waking up, and then I got to go to set, and then I got to do this, so it was like just this racing mind. And then when it ended, when we finished shooting, everything just kind of settled in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I think the calmness of it kind of is where the anxiety just like kind of took over, bro.
What do
And
they
it took
call
a
it?
while.
It's like idle's time. Idle time is the devil's playground.
No doubt, bro.
When you're left alone to just your thoughts, you're not distracted by anything. That's when like all the negative things come in, like the depression, like and stupid things, right? Did you find yourself like thinking about stupid things? It's like, man, maybe I just suck. Maybe they're gonna recast me. Like I just like the dumbest things pop up. Or it's
Oh,
like,
brother,
man, you know what? I'm not good. Like I don't even know why I'm in this business. Sometimes I think that.
of course you do, dude. And one of the things is like, so I did this podcast, and I know you're gonna bring it up later, but it fits right into what we're talking about. It's like you'll listen to the episodes, and you'll see that by some of the things that I'm asking, uh, I'm doubting myself so hard, because
Mm-hmm.
I filmed the episodes um, as we were shooting these episodes, right, of Heels. And so, when the guests would come on, I would kind of ask questions about, transitioning from stage to screen, right, and
Mm-hmm.
how they dealt with that, because I was struggling with that in my mind more than anything, just kind of like overthinking it, not
Yeah.
really feeling free
Yeah.
uh, in front of the camera as I do when I'm on stage. On stage I can use my body. I do all these things which I should do on camera too, but you got to kind of temper it down a little bit. And I didn't
Yeah.
know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
I was kind of figuring it out as we went. And I think as the episodes go in the season, I start to feel a little more free in that sense. And I'll see, I haven't seen the episodes, but that's what I imagine. But so in the podcast, I'm asking these guests these questions. These are people who have been working for 20, 30 plus years, I mean, like really veteran actors. And what's crazy is everyone doubts themselves, bro. Everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good they are or how successful they might seem from the outside. Every single person is just trying to figure it out, bro. And everyone
Yeah.
has also a different path, dude. It's like there is no blueprint to this shit. So
Yeah.
therefore, try everything, bro.
Yeah.
Try everything. Take risks,
I remember early on we were talking, and we had just talked about heels,
Yeah.
like off camera and off the off the air. And Stephen Amell is the lead of the
Yeah.
show. He's one of the leads. And I had just discovered Rosenbaum's it was Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, right.
And Stephen Amell, he was on there twice, and on one of those, he had an anxiety attack, a panic attack mid episode of that, and it was one of the most realist things. And you're talking about going through that same thing as he was going through the same thing at pretty much the same exact time. You know what I mean? Like if you listen to it, like Michael Rosenbaum has to give a a little talk like in at the beginning of the episode saying like this is what happened mid episode. We picked up a few days later and then recorded again and explaining. And you can hear it. He's like, man, is it hot in here? It's sweating. And Michael Rosenbaum, do you want some Tylenol or something? Do you want? He's like, no, man, I gotta go. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go. He's like, are you sure? I mean, we can record. And he just walked. He left. And that's,
Yeah.
that's the reality of this business, man. That's a guy who was just off of one, hit TV show
Mm-hmm.
to I'm thinking is going to become another hit TV show. It's going to have a good cult following with heels. But someone at that level is like, man, for me, I'm like, if this guy is worried, I haven't worked in 2 years. You know what I mean? So I get it. So I believe you. Like people of all like, um, I guess backgrounds of this business. We
Yeah,
all
man.
doubt ourselves.
Everybody, bro. Everybody. Um, and then also in the podcast, it was like it was about that, right? About the technique and about the stuff. But then I also asked a lot of questions. I think about family, bro.
Hmm.
How do we pursue this thing, and then also balance having a family.
Yeah, dude.
Uh, that was
I'm
huge for me, bro.
curious about that.
Yeah, yeah. That to me, you know. And again, I think everyone's answer varies, but you just there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint. Look, I'll tell you one of the things that happens on the pod. So I ask one of our guests. I don't want to say the guest's name yet, but he was an actor, for decades, right? He's an older dude, but he's a beast, and he had been working for decades. He did a show from '95 to 2005 where he
Hmm.
was the lead of this show, and it was a big show,
Hmm.
right? And he's the lead, and they shoot 20 plus episodes a season.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, how did he balance his life, dude? How did you do it? You're on set
Yeah.
almost every day. When you're shooting 20 plus episodes, you're on set probably 11 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
10 to 11 months out of the year, you're on set shooting this show.
Yeah.
And when you're not shooting the show, he says, you got to go home and memorize your lines for the next day, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in every scene the next day. So he had a daughter. She might have been maybe around 3 years old, and he had his month off, right? And he had been shooting the show. He had his month off from the show, and he took them on a vacation. And they go on vacation, and the daughter, and they're like driving, it's like a road trip, and the daughter keeps saying, "Mommy, I love you," right? To the mom who's in the front seat,
Mm.
and she keeps repeating that, right?
Mm.
And he asks his wife, he's like, why doesn't she say that about me, right? Why doesn't she say, Daddy, I love you? So the mom asks her, why don't you say, that you love Daddy? And the daughter says, because I don't know Daddy.
Mm. Wow.
Brother,
Wow. Dude.
it broke my heart, bro.
It dude, okay. One more, I'm gonna have a thought, and then we're gonna talk about the actual. It's called Dropping Characters, the podcast, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because this has been on my mind a lot over the last year and a half, right?
Yeah,
You know, you're always one audition away from that big job. Remember, we
yeah,
were talking about that. You were one audition away. You're on a vacation, remember? And you had a callback, and you had to find a place to shoot this callback, and you didn't even know what was going to happen. Like this, just they were recasting this, remember? Or they were the casting again because, to
something
be
like that.
honest, a friend of mine actually auditioned for your part, but back in January. You
Yeah,
remember?
dude. Yeah.
Way back in January. And so you auditioned for this back in August. So, months went by, and this happens all the time.
Hmm.
And I the thought that I'm getting to is that I spend every single minute with my daughter, and now my son and my daughter. Every single minute since the moment she was born, I have been with them. I think the longest I've been away has been, the week that I was up in New York, and they moved down here ahead of time. But that one job, if I'm down here in Texas and I were to book something like, say, a series reg, nothing shoots down here. I would be gone. Like you said, you were in Atlanta for how long? From August till April?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And I'm thinking about, what you were saying about being there when the baby was. waking up crying in the middle of the night. Like I'm dealing with that right now. We're dealing with that. Like our son Lucas, he's waking up. Like finally, like the last 2 nights, he slept 4 hours in like in one big chunk, and that was just like a victory. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I know.
And then it's just like every hour he wakes up, and like we've been sleep deprived and everything, and they get to know me, and I'm there all the time. But what happens when, you know, you, I mean, we're gonna move right back. But what the joke is, like, what if we finally move back to New York, right? And I get that audition and I end up booking a series reg and it shoots in Canada or it shoots in Austin. You know what I mean? Like it can happen and I'm not there. And I just I wonder how you balance that work and family life. You know, because like I've been wanting to know how you do it. You had your daughter midway through the shoot too. Like I was like, you answered the question I was going to ask you about, like them letting you go to at least be there for the birth.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but like, what do you do? You know, like how are you?
I mean, I'll tell you what, man. For season 2, they're coming with me. I mean, the whole time. And whenever I shoot anywhere, if it's gonna be for an extended period of time, they're gonna come with me. You know,
That's amazing.
I have to, bro. Have
Yeah,
to.
and
There's no way.
do they negotiate that? Like, you know, like, hey, I have my family coming up with me. Can I have like a place, you know, big enough, or
Yeah,
how
you
does that
can.
work
You
out?
know, I
Yeah,
guess it depends on the budget of the show and or the movie. Sometimes they might not be able to accommodate that, and then I would have to make that decision. You know, maybe it's a week or two, and then maybe I might say, okay, fine. You know, I'll go do it 2 weeks in New
yeah,
Orleans or something,
yeah.
and I'll deal with that. But if it's for an extended period of time, bro, I gotta have them there with me. You know, they gotta some way accommodate that.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, yeah,
I agree totally. John Ortiz, one of the founders of Labyrinth, the very first movie I ever did was Going in Style. And if you watch that movie, you'd probably guess that I was background because even my audition, there was no script. It was just I improved it. They gave me they said, "Hey, this is a bank heist movie with Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin, Academy Award winners. In my mind, has to be the most dramatic movie on earth. You know what I mean? Like this is like
yeah,
the new Shawshank. This is
yeah, yeah.
basically a Christopher Nolan film. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's a bank heist, and they're robbing me. So I did the most dramatic stick up, you know, in my audition. It ends up being this silly comedy called Going in Style. Well, John Ortiz was on set, you know, and he was there for like the 6 days that I was there, and I got to pick his brain. And right after that, I asked him what he was doing, and after that movie, he was going to shoot Kong, Skull Island,
Mm.
and it was 6 months that he was going to be shooting, and in Hawaii, and I think the Philippines, and I think the all
Yeah.
over. And he's like, I'm
Mhm.
taking my boy with me, and he said, I'm taking my family with me because like how many times in their life will they have an experience like that? And it's also like I want to spend time with my child. I don't want to be away, and so we'll make it work. And they managed to work it out. And that's the thing. Like I think we have to like consider now as dads. Is got to be there for our kids, because how many times do you see these Hollywood cases where the kids end up being crazies because the
I know,
parents are
dude.
never there.
No, I know, bro. I know, and it's not even. Yeah, I don't know how people do it, man. I don't know. I have no idea how people don't do that. Like take their family everywhere, because it's almost like a selfish thing in a way. I mean, I need them
Yeah.
there with me, dude. It's not even a thing of
Yeah.
like I'm doing it for them. It's like I'm doing it for me. I need them there with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't understand how people see it any differently, bro. It's crazy, but there was a lot of talk about that on the pod, bro, which I was happy about because I don't hear that being spoken about a lot, you know?
No, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that like now that I think that's one of the things I'm most curious about as a dad in this
Right.
industry, as a parent in general, like, cause like there's a lot of people with kids,
Yeah.
like I have another friend who's in Going in Style with me, Richie. He's in a new series for CBS, and he was able to take his family with him up to Canada so they could shoot. So
Dope.
that's cool. You know what I mean? And I like that gives me hope. Like hearing that you can have your family with you, that gives me hope that if I were to ever get that, that is a possibility that my family
No
can get
doubt.
that.
I mean,
Um,
especially if it's a series reg or something, they should work that out, I think.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So dropping character is the name of your podcast. You're
Yeah.
talking about this. You're hinting at this also the last time we spoke that you're wanting to get a podcast going and talking about feeling insufficient and not good enough. That's how I felt when I see all your graphics and all the awesome stuff you have, man. You have this awesome promo with music, and here I
Yeah.
am just queuing myself in, no music. I'm doing all my little like thumbnails just by myself, and I don't even know how to do that. So,
I
dude, it
know.
looks awesome. Like
Thank
it
you,
looks sick, dude. I love it. Tell me about it. What's it about? Obviously, it's about acting, but
yeah.
you've got the codes how to make it in. Tell me.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's pretty much what it is, dude. So what ended up happening, how it came to be was, I booked Heels, and then I said, I had always wanted to start a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity. I was going to be on set with these people for, well, at first we thought it was just going to be 6 months or 5 months, and it ended up being longer, but because of COVID and all that. But so I was going to be on set with these people for an extended period of time, and so I thought maybe it might be a good idea to get some of them on the podcast, and it kind of started that way. And then I got some other people who weren't part of Heels on the podcast also, and all in all, I got 20 episodes. Um,
Nice.
yeah, we're going to start. So the first one drops on the 16th, which is the day after the premiere of Heels
Yeah.
on Starz, and then we go once a week every Monday till the end of the year. So the last one I think drops like December 20 something,
Yeah.
and that'll be like an end of the year kind of episode. So 19 guests all in all.
Nice.
Yeah,
Is it going
man,
to be
I'm
video and
excited
audio
for it.
or just audio?
This season, I'm calling it the season one of dropping character,
Yeah.
is just audio. Um,
Nice.
I am thinking about adding the video component. It was just that, for the first time I was kind of
Dude, it's
like,
hard.
and dude, and the other thing too is, once you put a camera on somebody,
They
because
clam up.
even when you turn the mics on,
Yeah.
there's a little moment there that the
Yeah.
person changes a little, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, bro, we do the podcast, and then when I turned off the mics, they'd say something so
Yes.
fucking glorious, dude. And I'm like,
Yes.
God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
But it's because people know they're on, and
Yeah.
we're dealing with entertainers and people that know how to turn it on.
Yeah.
And so, it was really for me like trying to learn how to peel back that layer from some people and be like, we're just
Yeah.
having a conversation. And that's the way I looked at it, right?
Yeah.
I had questions obviously that I wanted to ask them, but mostly I treated it as a conversation. And my idols are like Mark Maron, Rogan, Howard Stern, obviously. But I think Mark Maron does probably the best job to me of making the guest feel like they're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I had to learn was, when is it my turn to speak?
Yeah.
It's fucking hard, bro.
It's
Because
hard.
you wanna throw in your thoughts and stuff, but it's also like, let this person kind of like let some of this thing out that they're saying, and so it's its own little art form, podcasting.
Yeah, man. It's work. It's fun.
It is, man.
It's awesome to pick the brains of someone else that's doing what you're doing. Um, it's definitely like like you said, it's like learning when to like speak and when to just not speak and just let the guest talk. Like I struggle with that constantly.
Hard,
uh
man.
it's
But
hard,
you're also
man.
doing it through Zoom, dude. It's even
Yeah.
harder, I think,
Yeah,
because if
that
we're in person, we feel each other out.
yeah. Well, dude, that's my whole shtick. This is the isolation podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm in isolation. So all my guests are gonna, even dude, I honestly, like, if I were to be back in a city, if I was gonna be in LA or New York or anything, and I'm around these people, I'd still probably do it through Zoom because I've done it like this, you know, just because the isolation aspect. I mean, dude, we're having, like, a year ago we were talking about COVID, right? Now there's all these different variants and people are talking about lockdowns and revolting against the government. Now it's like, dude, it seems like nothing is changed, even though it has changed.
Oh, I
And
know.
I still keep this like isolation sort of
No,
thing
I dig it.
going,
I dig it. Yeah.
and I've kind of like branched out. I'm branching out past, acting and, seeing just, I want to pick people's brains, I just see what's going on. And I'm glad you're doing it. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing what you have, because I think I know some of the guests that you've had on there.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm excited to put it out, bro, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Were there anything surprising about any of the guests, or just like, like we already talked about how I think one of the most surprising things you're saying was that a lot of them were just as self-conscious as you were,
yeah. Yeah.
as everyone else, like everyone, there's like this kind of like self-doubt that we all have. And it's kind of humanizes a lot of these people, right?
It
We look
does,
up to.
dude.
Yeah.
It does. I'm thinking of one specific guest that I had on where um I'll say he played professional sports. You probably know who I'm talking about. And
Yes.
he I didn't know the struggle this dude went through
Hmm.
before he became successful
In the
uh,
NFL.
in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I think I know the
I did
story.
not know, bro. I
Yeah.
did not know, and he seems like such a physical specimen, and you're like, oh well, he was probably, LeBron-esque, where it's like he's in high school and everyone's rooting for him, and he gets
No.
out of high school, he's already a star, and that wasn't the case at all with this guy, man. And so that kind of surprised me, and then I had other people too. A professional wrestler, um, and hearing his story and how he came up, and another big star. But uh, when you go back to their origin story of what they eventually became successful at,
Hmm.
doubts, bro,
Yeah.
doubts.
Yeah.
No, nobody knows who you are. There's people that think that you're out of your mind for pursuing what you're doing. Setbacks, having to recreate yourself, having to create almost an alter ego. Both of these guys that I'm talking about did that, and we talk about it on the podcast. Kind of like creating this almost like an avatar that then you release into the world, and you become this thing that eventually is successful. But you had to create a fucking avatar
Yeah.
of this successful dude, of this driven dude, of this person who's going to get it at all odds, and then eventually becomes successful at it. Jim Carrey's a guy who talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
And there's some shit he goes off the deep end. Sometimes maybe we're off the deep end and he's not. I don't know who's crazy and who's not. Maybe
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's not the crazy guy I
It
am.
may
But
yeah,
my
yeah.
point is that he talks about creating this kind of character of Jim Carrey in the early 90s that eventually became, the guy. He says a specific thing like free people from concern or something like that. And
Yeah.
he used that character to become Jim Carrey, the one that now we know. Um, and these two guests that I had both had a similar kind of creating this alter ego who becomes this massive success.
Yeah.
Uh, so to talk about that was interesting, bro.
Yeah.
And I haven't listened to I have a producer who's editing and stuff like that. So I haven't listened to some of these episodes. I'm just going off of from the original conversation. But so I'm interested in also kind of listening back, listening back on some of these things, because that is something that happened is kind of people talking about creating this avatar, that then goes
Boom.
off and becomes successful. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a lot of interesting guys, man. A lot of and
That's that's fascinating, because like if like in a mainstream way, if you look at Henry Cavill,
mm-hmm,
he is Superman, or was Superman. But at the beginning of his career, he was known as the unluckiest guy in Hollywood, because he had originally auditioned for Superman and he lost to Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. Then he
mm-hmm,
auditioned for Batman and lost out to Christian Bale. And then there
mm-hmm.
was like just setback after setback after setback. And he finally gets Superman, you know, and
Yeah,
then he loses it. They take it from him again, but he's still pushing forward.
Yeah.
You know, like just think about that. Like he's at that, he's there, but he's just not there. You know what I mean? He did that
Yeah.
one thing, but he
Yeah.
still has that body of work though, that he's still, you know, he's still chugging along. Like I can imagine how he felt. You know, like is he thinking like, man, is this happening again? That I'm losing Superman again? You know,
True, dude.
it's so crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And even the way that we perceive him, like I didn't know that about him. You think you just perceive him as a successful guy, but in his head
Hmm.
and in the story that he's telling himself, he might think that, I'm the
Yeah,
unluckiest guy in fucking Hollywood. And you're like, what are you talking about, bro? You're
yeah.
fucking, you know what I mean?
That and
You're
that's because that's what
Superman.
they published.
Right. Of
They
course.
publish
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then that confirms the suspicion. Like you know, if you sit in those negative thoughts, like man, I'm unlucky, and then you turn on your you have your social media on, and you know you're on Instagram. It's like, oh, the unluckiest guy in Hollywood, or like there's like a top 10 unluckiest people in Hollywood, and it's like you're
I
number one.
agree,
It's like,
brother.
man, maybe I am unlucky, maybe I
I
suck,
agree.
but that's not the case. It's just maybe not your time for that certain. It's not your season, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. But and what you're saying, Jorge, fucking, I think that, you know, the media and the things that we say
Yeah,
and that we put out, they matter, bro. And sometimes, like, we're both Latino, and you can hear things that people say. Like I'll hear somebody who's Latino and has and is in movies and all these kind of things. And if they start talking about how hard it is and how the chips are stacked against me, and how, there's not a lot of us in Hollywood, and there's not a lot of this and that and that, and just negative about the whole thing. And it's like, brother, you made it, dude.
yeah,
Come back and tell me, who
yeah,
I'm on the come up,
yeah,
dude. You can do it, brother. Yeah,
yeah,
the chips might be stacked against you. You can do it though, right?
yeah,
And that positive way of looking at it
yeah,
is important, bro. Yes, we need to talk about, the fact that Hollywood might have things that they need to fix. Of course, yes, I agree 110%. But let's also talk about, how do we do it? Let's talk about the success stories of people that are Latino or
yeah,
or black or whatever the case may be, that have made it, and let's
yeah,
let's get more of us in the door, right?
yeah,
But if we're constantly kind of harping on how hard it is to be a minority and to make it in Hollywood, well then, dude, that's the message you're putting out. So the
yeah,
kid who's 17 and he's Cuban and he's from Miami, he's going to Miami-Dade College, and he hears me talk and he says, "Oh shit, but Robbie's on the show, but he says it's impossible." He says that there's not a lot of us, that even for him it's hard. Then, dude, that kid might not go after it, right?
yeah,
I don't know, man. That's my point of view on it, dude. And sometimes I do get a little bit just kind of frustrated at some of the messages that are coming through, that are kind of painting this as impossible, or as, yeah, I made it, but it's impossible. So don't even try doing it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Until Hollywood changes, until everyone opens the doors, don't even try, writing that script or doing that other thing. And so we got to be careful about the narrative we tell each other, right? So the
absolutely.
media will paint that thing like the Henry Cavill thing of, oh, well, he's the unluckiest guy in Hollywood. What are you talking about? The guy probably, is a millionaire. The guy has all these doors open. You cannot view the narrative that way,
No,
Um,
you know,
yeah,
it's always like, I agree 100% with you about that. I hate the negative talk about, you know what, Latinos, we don't have a chance in Hollywood. You know, the chips are stacked against us. Maybe about 20, 30 years they were. Maybe all the parts that you were going to get 20, 30 years were just maids, construction workers, and gangbangers, drug dealers. But in the last 5 to 10 years, we have proven that we can pave the way. There's a
mhm,
lot of people paving the way right now.
mhm,
You know, Tanya Saracho, she was on my show a few episodes ago. She has the Ojalá Productions, which they
mhm.
have a lab going on. They're looking to produce,
Yeah,
and work with 5 writers to produce a show with our voices in mind. And
yeah,
Tanya's from Mexico, But she
Yeah.
said, you know what? I want all brown people. It doesn't matter if you're from, Dominican, if you're from Colombia, if you're from Mexico, if you're from, Indiana, your last name is Chavez. Like we want to hear your voices because all those voices matter, and that's important. And it's just like there's more opportunities for us. But if you're gonna, be down and out and hear people say, well, it's hard, like that's we already know that this industry is hard as it is because it's very
Yeah, man.
subjective. You're under the beck and call of whatever casting or productions going on. And it's just very frustrating to hear like people, say that sort of thing, like, oh, it's impossible. It's like, no, I especially from where I'm at down here in South Texas, I can just start spitting out names. Raul Castillo's doing this. Tanya Saracho's doing this. Mando Alvarado's doing this. Like Valente Rodriguez is doing this. Like all these people have been like stamping their names in this industry and
Yeah.
paving the way to make it better and easier and showing like, hey, it's not impossible. Like,
No.
and that's what you're doing too. You're doing that for some kid in Miami, a Cuban, who's, thinking, man, life is hard, but I want to pursue this. Who can I look up to? Boom. There you are. You're there.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so, man. I hope so. I think we have to, bro. We owe it to everybody that's coming up after us to do that, bro.
Yeah.
Because the media is so negative, dude. And it's like sometimes there is a space to talk about, hey, this certain thing is missing in this industry, but then it quickly has to become, how do we fix it, and not just harping on this thing, or who do we blame for this thing happening for the past whatever,
Yeah.
if 100 years, like how, no,
Yeah.
no, no, how do we fix it, right?
Yeah.
One of the things on the podcast that ties in back into the podcast and dropping character, bro, is that I have an actor on who's very famous now, within the past year, man. His show blew up on Netflix, and he's just he's killing it. I think he's 19, right?
Yeah.
And he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
And he talked about he was starting to talk about that, like just being a, kind of like trying to let other Latinos into the door, right? Like, and not letting just him be the only one at the table. And I urged him. I was like, man, now that you have this thing, start making your own work. And he was already thinking about it. I mean, he doesn't need me to tell him, but it's like, but I also just wanted to say that into the podcast because it's important, bro. Make your own work, right? And if you are starting to get some kind of traction in the business, it's even more important. You got to make your own work, man, right?
Yeah.
And if you see something in the industry that's missing, that you're like, damn, I'm not being represented there, or this certain person isn't being represented, then you do it,
Yeah.
dude. Write it, right?
Yeah.
You write it.
Yeah.
You're frustrated about the way things are going. Write it.
Yeah.
Or if you're not a writer, find a writer that then can help you write this thing. I mean, there's ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that are writing things that might not have certain connections that you might have, and therefore you guys can link up and create this work.
Yeah.
Recently, the Lin-Manuel stuff that came out.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna cut this guy down. We're gonna cut this guy down, dude. We're gonna cut this guy down. This is the guy we're gonna go after. This is the guy that we're gonna say was lazy in his work. This guy, no, dude.
Yeah.
No. I disagree wholeheartedly with that, bro. To no end. That guy did not deserve that type of
backlash at all.
No, bro. No.
The thing that I have about that is that it's getting to a point where, man, you have to, or it's come to a point where you have to watch out and make everyone happy about everything. And I'm not, and it's like, I don't want to sound like one of those people. It's like, oh, cancel culture. But it's like, man, you can only include so many people in the game. Like, like, and once you're getting a project going, it's first of all hard to get a project going. you know, and when you've already cast everything, when you've already like done, you know, the work, you already got the project rolling, then it's just, you know, you don't think about certain things, you know, it's just like you want to make sure the script is tight, you want to make sure everything is shot, you have schedules, you're dealing with COVID, you're contending with all this other stuff, and then you have this beautiful project, which was one of the most visually stunning films in a long time, and then people are saying, yeah, we're going to nitpick about this, even though it's a brilliant film. They're gonna, you know, get mad because, you know, and I get it, like, you know, I know the area, I know the representation there, but it's kind of like
Yeah, dude.
what do you want, like it's either, you know, I don't know what to say, it's like, come on.
Look, part of the problem is that they say that about him, and then he has to come out and apologize
Yeah, he's forced to.
because he's one comment away there from just being legitimately like, we're this
Done.
guy's done within
He's
that
done.
community,
Yeah,
or within that
or
group
his
of people that
career,
hate him. Yeah,
because
bro.
because
Yeah.
because it's not just that community, right? If they come at him, like they could come at us right now, like I'm a nobody, we have nothing to lose right now, really, you know, I mean, you do, you're on a show, but like
Yeah.
we're not doing anything negative, it's just like if you were to come out and do something like that and you don't apologize and you stick to your guns, like you could possibly, you know, lose your career. And this guy already has deals with Disney, he has a Disney, a Pixar film coming out,
Yeah.
and they could just say, you know, we're gonna pull it for what?
For what, dude? Exactly. And there's room for criticism, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they
I,
could
I
have done better casting, but whose fault is that? Is it casting directors? Is it agents? Like, you know what? Maybe you should represent more than just what you have.
but also, again, dude,
Yeah,
getting back to individual responsibility.
yeah.
You don't like what you saw,
Create
write
it.
another musical that is successful, that has all the qualities that you want in it,
Yep.
make it into a movie,
Yep.
and release it on HBO Max.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Or on your own platform.
Dude,
Create your own
seriously.
platform. Like stir the pot. Like this guy went in on Broadway, which is the great white way. And it's
Exactly.
white people. And he went
Exactly.
in there and he mixed it up with this movie, In the Heights. This is the
Yeah.
very first Broadway show I ever saw, In the Heights. And then he came out and he's like, you know what? I'm going to really bend it and do Hamilton, and everybody's going to be a person of color. And people are still not happy. I was like, he's provided, like,
He still
you know,
has to
he's
come out
created,
and apologize about
yeah, he's
something.
created all these things. And it's just like you said, like, if you don't like that, see how you can do it better. You know, like me, I'm a horror guy. And I know this has nothing to do with like race, but like, you know, it's like, I hate American Horror Story. That is
Right.
like one of the worst horror stories. All it is, you know, Ryan Murphy's infatuation with celebrities, you know, and poor storytelling. And my
I've never
goal,
seen his.
it's all it is, like, especially with this new one, is he can get every popular celebrity on there. They have Michael Jackson's daughter and they have Cindy Crawford's daughter. None of them are actors,
Yeah.
but yet they have them on there because they are popular in social media. And you know, it's like you have the funding from FX, you have everything at your, you know, just beck and call, and you're gonna like ruin like a horror story. So you can do something better. And so my goal is to create something better than that.
Yeah.
You know, like true American Horror Stories. You know what I mean? Like something a little bit more grittier, something a little bit more, you know, scary, not just like fluff.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, not just a bunch of pretty people that you see on Instagram. You know, and the only time you're going to bring like different looking people is on Freak Show. That one season that
Yeah.
they're in a Freak Show. You know, and that's what it
Okay.
is. It's like you see that. I like if you watch it, it's like every one of the people he's always probably wanted to work with or had a crush on is on that show. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's awful.
Yeah.
But that's just what it is. Like I see that and I get motivated. It's like, you know what? I want to do something better than that. You know, that's
how it should
exactly
be, dude.
that.
That's how
It's what
should
it
be.
is. And it's like
We
friendly
criticize by
competition too.
creating.
Yeah, exactly. Criticized by
course, yeah.
creating. I love it.
Man. Me too, dude. I've heard that somewhere, and it's goddamn true. I'll tell you, the first time that I started writing my play, that dealt loosely with my grandfather being a political prisoner in Cuba was I went to this festival. I think it was called the Bronx Havana Film Festival or something like that. It was in the Bronx, and I saw a documentary there, and the documentary was bullshit, bro. It was like
Yeah.
it was just a propaganda film basically for the Cuban government, which I'm wholly against. And I didn't, I wanted to just go ham there, right? Because there was a Q&A after, and the director was there, and it was this American guy who knows shit about Cuba, and basically did a documentary about how great Cuba was and how the healthcare system and the education system is great over there and all this bullshit. And I was fuming at the end of this thing, right? And I left there and I wrote and I started to write my play that I eventually got produced in or workshopped in New York, and now we're going to do another reading here in Miami this month. I started writing that play from just the pure frustration and anger that I had leaving that festival,
Yeah.
because it was complete bullshit. It was horseshit. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just lie, dude. You know.
Yeah.
And instead of me going home and kind of like writing in a blog about it or posting on Instagram, being like, hey, this was, which works too. I mean, I'm not putting that down, but it's like I went and just because this is my avenue, right? My avenue was at the time was theater. I said, dude, I'm gonna write a play about this.
Yeah.
The feelings that I have and the love for my grandfather and the the need to tell the truth about what happened in Cuba. I need to write a play about it, and that's what I
Yeah.
did. Now I need to be reminding myself of that constantly, right?
Yeah.
Because all throughout that time, there's other things I should have written by this point and haven't written it. And that's just from laziness or life or whatever. But I have to be reminding myself constantly, like, dude, you don't like
Mhm.
that? Okay, write
Yeah.
something about it, or
Yeah.
find someone who is, or find a collaborator that you can collaborate and tell the story um, in the way I want to tell it, right?
Yeah.
And so dude, it works, man. It works. I'm not saying that we shouldn't criticize people when we don't like what they're doing. We should, but then
Yeah.
we also need to make our own work, man.
Yeah.
And the people that were mad at Lin Manuel for what he did, that's
Yeah.
okay. Go
Yeah.
home and do your own stuff, and or find
Yeah.
other people that are willing to collaborate with you on it,
Yeah.
man, and tell that story the way you want to tell it.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
If that's your answer to that, I'm
Yeah.
100% with you.
Yeah. And that's part of like a thing that I've thought about a lot being down here in South Texas and on the border is that there's this picture painted about the border and the kids in cages and like it's just cartel stuff and it's like what, there's more to life down here than all of that. There's hardworking individuals, there's a bunch of unique characters, and I think one of the biggest things is, like you said, is like I hate every time they show something about a border town and it's
Mhm.
always something like all you see is like ragged immigrants coming across. Yes, they're coming across, but like, why don't you just show the ones that have come across and made a success of their life? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of them, and I know a lot of them that have, and that's the thing. Like, you can get mad and cry about it or do something about it. It's the same people who say, what, why is that team so good? Well, maybe they work hard and they practice hard. How hard have you practiced? How hard have you worked at it? Like, why is that person making it and not me? What do they have that I don't? You've been in this career for so long. How many times have you heard people, like, we talk to other actors all the time, and sometimes we get a little shady, saying, well, I don't know how that guy, how does that guy book everything, or like, how is this guy doing this? Well, maybe he just hustles. Maybe that person's just like, kind, like you're gonna see that, like, there's something that they're doing that you're not, probably, and that's probably not complaining and
Yeah.
just doing something about it.
And there is a human element to that, bro. It's like I get it. I have those moments too where I start to
Yes.
think and where I start to criticize something. I see something and I just criticize and I get in this loop in my head about it, and I want to and I might even get to social media and write about it, but I have to check myself, dude,
Yeah.
and be like, hold on, bro. I'm having this feeling about it. What can I constructively and positively do about it?
Yep.
That's all.
Absolutely.
It's a human thing to do all the things we're talking about and kind of like
Yeah.
nitpicking on here, but at some point you just got to check yourself and be like, okay, what can I do to make this into a positive, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all we're talking about, bro. I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't know how that's controversial, but it is, you know?
It is now. You
Yeah.
know, I think people just
You
want to
know.
be complaining about something, you know, no matter what it is. I don't know
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
going. And then, like, for you as a creator, does that affect the way you write? Have you ever thought about that? Like, if you're writing something, right? Or if you have an idea, for instance, you know, um, have you thought, like, you've written a scene or a certain, conversation, you know, some dialogue within that scene, and you thought, how is this going to go over with the public?
Yeah,
You know,
man.
I think about that constantly, because I've been writing a bunch of little things, and I catch myself saying, like, you know, like, will this fly? Will people take it serious, or will, I get a lot of blowback from it? You know, it's like Steve Carell saying, he loved his time doing The Office, but he knows that now if they were to try to make it, it would never be done.
Sad, bro.
Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the most
Makes
brilliant
me sad, man.
shows.
Yeah. Look at the Jonah Hill did a movie called Mid 90s. Did you watch it?
Which one? Midnight in Paris?
Mid
Mid 90s. Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
Jonah Hill
Jonah Hill.
directed
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
Mid 90s. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Directed and wrote it, right? And he got blowback because the characters were now being viewed through the lens of that they were being misogynistic. Now, this is the mid 90s. He's writing a period piece about the mid 90s and about the way these teenagers were talking at that time.
Mhm.
Dude, that's the way they were talking at that time.
Yeah.
Why you can't write a movie about how people were talking in the mid 90s?
Yeah.
It's a very personal story. You know, a lot of these characters to him were
Yeah.
people that he grew up around, like the skateboard culture and all this thing.
Yeah.
That's the way they were speaking.
Yeah.
How is he getting blowback
Mhm.
for that? I don't
Yeah.
get it, man. I don't
Yeah.
get that at all.
Yeah.
And I think that that is not helpful, bro, at
It's
all.
not. Yeah.
Um, and what again? What's happening is you're afraid to make your own work because
Mhm.
exactly what you said, dude. I don't know if people are gonna interpret this the wrong way.
Mhm.
I mean, if I wrote a film about the way me and my friends were talking in 2005
Dude,
in middle
I
school,
would. Yeah, I would have been canceled.
we grew up listening to 50 Cent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was our I don't know. That was the Beatles to us. That we were
Yeah.
listening to 50 Cent. We were listening to
Yeah.
Eminem. We were
Yeah.
listening to uh, uh, Tupac earlier than them. But that was the culture that we were being brought up in. The
Yeah.
way we were speaking was directly connected to that culture that we were growing up in. Right.
Yeah.
I can't. If I wrote what we were talking about, people would say that you're being misogynistic, you're being racist, you're being this, you're being that. I mean, it's like, dude, but that's the way we were taught. That doesn't mean that we
Yeah.
were kids, right? Or
Yeah.
or so you
Well,
do have to.
it's also cultural too. Like,
It's
if you go
cultural.
back
Yeah.
to, like, we're Latinos. Like, no matter where you're at, if you're Cuban, if you're Puerto Rican, if you're Mexican, traditional Latinos, they're traditionally racist. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, I had a friend, and where I live here in South Texas, they're really, like, up until maybe like the early 2000s, dude, it was 98% Mexican. We're on the border. And then there's a handful of white people. It wasn't until, again, there was a couple, like maybe one black family, couple black families. And I tell this story because it's really, it's racist, but it's true. How we thought down here was that if a black family moved down here and they had a son and they played football, this is a true story. This is, the narrow-minded, simple thinking that we had down here, that we were going to be good at football or basketball and
Right.
track. And it happened. They were always really good. They broke record after record every time. You know what I mean? And it happened, like, the Taylor brothers, the Bradley Stevens. You had Spites. Like they, it was just a fact. But that's how narrow-minded we were, And now, coming back after being in New York for 8 years, it's a different world down here. We have a lot more different culture, but the older generation is still very racist. They will still say some bad things about black people, or what they call Asians, and it's just like it's just and it's innocent even in their mind. They don't
Mhm.
see it as wrong, calling Asians like chinos, or like
Yeah.
the negritos. Like, it's just like, that's like, you can't say that. You have to tell my grandparents, or like my parents sometimes. It's like, you can't say that stuff. They're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
why? How's that wrong? You know what I mean? And that's like, if you were to write about that, it'd have to be comical, and have like an apology within the dialogue to
Right.
cover it. You know what I mean? Like character A, like me, would have to like have an apology written within the text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of carrying on with the conversation.
It's just not truthful. It's not
It's
truthful.
not truthful.
It's
No.
not truthful, man. We're lying to
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
If we really want to talk about race, then we got to talk about it truthfully and
Yeah.
see the truth of it, and not try to sugarcoat it. And to me, it's always more interesting.
Yeah.
That's a more interesting story to me, is the truth of it, instead of us trying to water it down or make it vanilla and make it right for
Safe.
everybody. It's like, no, bro, it's complicated, man. It's
Very.
complicated. And who I think Tarantino was on with Bill Maher, and they were talking about the 80s
Mhm.
were very censored, and so
Yeah.
were the 50s, and
Yeah.
Tarantino spoke about how he hated the films that came out in the 50s because
Yeah.
people were being blacklisted for with the whole McCarthyism and all that.
McCarthy. Yeah.
And then in the 80s it was also very watered down, and things were very, like, commercialized and all that, and you couldn't say certain words and things like this. And then he says, we might be in, not we might be, we are
We
in
are in.
that time again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said that eventually that'll pass. When he was writing Pulp Fiction, not Pulp Fiction, True Romance,
Yeah.
Reservoir
Or
Dogs, all
dogs.
those
Yeah.
things, it was still the 80s, and that censored thing was still happening. But he was already writing these stories that would eventually bring on this new life in the 90s, along with other filmmakers. But the point is that I think we need to continue telling these stories, not in a way to be controversial or to be like edgy or whatever, but just the goddamn truth, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
That's
you can tell the difference when someone is trying to push something and they're trying to be edgy.
yeah.
And like, like you can tell. But when it's just honest conversation, you can also tell that too.
Yeah.
It's you can tell the difference.
Look, there was writers in New York. I'll throw a writer's name out, Paola Lázaro Munoz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, her writing, bro.
Yeah.
Without having to talk about the culture that the characters are in or any of that, it came through in the writing, bro.
Yeah.
And the writing was so good and so truthful.
Yeah.
And so honest.
Yeah.
And the characters were they had all these different sides to them, and nobody was good and nobody was bad, and everyone was just somewhere in the goddamn middle. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So when you have an older Mexican lady who grew up in a culture that was a specific way, and she's 85 years old, and she says something that through our lens now would be considered racist.
Yeah.
That is just the truth. That doesn't make her a bad person.
No.
That doesn't make her a person that we should silence or change her mind. She's 85, dude. You're not going to change your mind.
No.
It's just the way she thinks, And I think also within even the Black culture, you can find that, bro.
Yep.
There's people that have different opinions and probably validated. There's a reason why they feel that way in that culture. And that should be told also truthfully. my point is that everybody, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, wherever the hell you're from, just tell the truth about your culture, bro. And then we can maybe figure out a way to make this, to tell the truth about our the way the world is right now in this
Yeah.
moment. Let's not lie about it. Let's not try to act like nobody has any negative thoughts. Nobody has any thoughts that might be controversial. Let's be free of our thinking, That's,
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. I'm also on this tip right now, heavy, or because of the Cuba stuff that's going on.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I'm constantly thinking about this thing. And it's like we have to be able to be able to think.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking to you, dude, these thoughts, I'm thinking them. I might be wrong about some of these things, but I have to be able to verbally say them to you.
Yeah.
And then have you tell me, or somebody else tell me, hey, dude, you're wrong about that, bro. Well, why is it? Oh, because of this, that, and the other. Okay, maybe you're right. And then I can change my thinking. But if I don't verbalize these things, then we're fucked, bro. Because I can't think for myself. I have to listen to somebody else tell me this is right, this is wrong. That way of thinking, you don't say that, don't say this. Wait, why? Oh, I can't say because of that. Okay, I'll respect, I respect that, and I see where there's something wrong in my thinking, but I have to be able to verbally say them to think. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely. It absolutely makes a lot of sense to me. You have to, and I think that's just like when what you're saying makes sense in what I heard a lot of in grad school, when people would say we need to have a conversation about this. When a lot of people say that, especially in New York, there was no conversation. It was my way, or you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like what I say, you're wrong. Whereas what you're saying is like, listen, I'm saying this, I need to say that this is the conversation. If you want to correct me or say like you disagree with me, then we can talk about that. That's the conversation. And that's the issue that I've been having, is like when people like, it's just that that expression, we need to have a conversation. There needs to be conversations about this. There's never conversations. It's usually someone talking at somebody without the willingness to hear the response and like the reasoning behind that. Even though if they're wrong, there's no learning. Like, you can't understand like, why this person thinks this way, because you're wrong. If you're already
not just wrong, dude, you're offensive and you are a bad person. That should be silenced, and that we shouldn't be able to, because your words are hateful, and they're all these things. So it's like, wow, dude, then I can't think at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid to hurt anybody. I'm afraid to say something that can be looked on as violent or as offensive. It's like, dude, no, we have to be able to, in some way, when I'm listening to somebody, they have to be able to offend me. They have to be, because that's the only way they can be truthful. And then that I can be like, hey man, that you said offended me. And then he said, and then that person says, well, how did it offend? Oh, it offended me like this, that, and the other. And then now they're seeing the world through a different perspective. But if they don't voice that, I can't have that learning moment with them. I can't tell them that offended me, because they're censoring their words with me and they're not being truthful. So we have to be able to say things that can be deemed offensive. We have to. That's what's happening in Cuba. You cannot say anything, dude. You can't say anything that might be offensive to the government or might be offensive to your neighbor who believes in communism. You cannot verbally say, I disagree with you. I think communism is this, that, and the other. You cannot do it. And so therefore, what you can't do is think. You can't think for yourself, because you can't verbally express your feelings. And then be wrong about them, maybe. Again, that's what the drive that I want to keep pointing to. Let's say I am wrong. I still need to be able to voice it. I need to be able to say it, and then be told that I'm wrong. That's all. So with the Cuba thing, that's heavy on my mind, dude. I didn't think we were gonna get into this talk. But
no, and I had the same sentiment that you have with Cuba, I have about the border situation, where I'm sure like you have a lot of people that are so unfamiliar with the area. just the general geographic location, that have never even ventured there.
Mm-hmm.
Even going to Miami, which is not even in Cuba. You know what I mean? And will voice the opinion and tell you that you are wrong, even though that your family escaped it, even though your family lived it, even though
Yeah.
you're still dealing with it, you are still wrong. And I have the same sentiment with like what's happening on the border. Like I had a few conversations with people in New York who have never left the tri-state area in their lives, maybe on a vacation, but never lived outside. They've only lived there. And they're telling me what was happening on the border, which I live only 10 minutes from.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling me what it was like. They're telling me how it was this and that. And I was like, no, it's not like that. Or yes, it's like this. And they said, no, you have no idea what it's like. You know, like they're blaming only one person. I was like, there's a lot of people to blame. You know what I mean? Like not just your guy is the good guy, but you know, they're all bad guys. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
seriously like they wanted to blame just Trump. Yeah, Trump is doing this. Trump is doing this. I was like, if you're gonna blame Trump, you got to blame Obama, you got to blame Biden, you got to blame Clinton, you got to blame Bush, because they all turned their eyes. They turned their backs on those kids.
See,
All
yeah,
that's not new. Like you know, it's not. It's like these are just facts. This has been happening for like 30 years.
yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like how many presidents have come and gone? It's just
Right.
like the way I describe where I live is it's not Texas and it's not Mexico. It's its own little place that people forget about until they need it, until it needs to be important. It needs to be news. You know what I mean? And that's all you're going to see. If you Google McAllen, Texas, you're going to see a whole bunch of negative things.
And how you need it is an interesting way to put it, bro.
Yeah. And it's just like,
How
you
does
know,
it help the narrative that you want to put out into the
exactly.
world? Yeah.
Yeah. And is that, and I'm sure that's how you're feeling about Cuba right now.
100%.
That's what they need it to be.
They need it to be good, the healthcare to be good there. They need it to be that the education system is great. That Fidel did a bunch of things for the racial tension in Cuba. That Fidel helped Africa. That Fidel did all these things. That he sends doctors overseas to help other countries and countries in need. That they need that narrative to be true, to feed their point of view or idealistic ideology about something that they have no idea about, bro. And so that's where Cuba, that's where it's like, you know, it's frustrating, man, how it's used as a pawn by either side, by the way.
Yes.
To push and pull back and forth on these both sides. One of the things like you know, the people always say, I want to go see Cuba before it gets like before there's a Starbucks in the van. And it's like, brother, what are you saying, dude?
Yeah.
What are you saying? I mean, that's so messed up, bro.
Yeah.
You deserve the Starbucks, but the people in Cuba don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you're saying. So that you can go there and kind of be in a little time lapse, or a little time capsule. A little time capsule of the 1950s and all the 1950s cars coming through.
Yeah.
That's why you don't want Cuba to change, so that you can go and take pictures for the gram.
Yeah. It's like, no. It's not what I meant, though. I mean, like, I just want to see when it was pure and like untouched by those capitalist animals. And, you know, like, we're just like seeing like Cuba, how it should be. Well, how should Cuba be? Is that in your mind?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
Meanwhile, you know, the people who live there are trying to find internet because the government is shutting it down.
Yeah.
They're trying to find a way to voice their opinion through Instagram, through Twitter, through Facebook, to anybody who would listen, because they have no other way to express themselves. You know, people are going into the ocean in makeshift rafts made out of tires, risking their lives in the middle of the night.
Sharks.
Yeah, bro.
Sharks.
Yeah.
Rough waters. Like I remember, dude, and the thing is like, it's in the news now, but I remember hearing about this since I was little, and it's been happening since before I was born. You know, this is like you see the videos of these rafts and the people coming, you know, the Cubans fleeing in these dangerous waters, and it's just like, man, I don't know if you've ever been to the beach and you go out just a little bit, you know, too far and you get caught in one of those little tides or like the little rip tides. you know, and the current takes you away. Like that's a little scary. Imagine that on a raft across the ocean.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, man. It's just like I have to equate that to what's happening on the borders. Like people on both sides. You have the hillbillies saying, "Oh yeah, the illegals are going to come over and they're taking our jobs." I was like, listen, until you try crossing desert-like climates and death, you know, they find dead bodies on farms here all the time or on ranches
Crazy.
all the time. They're dead, dehydrated, or just like, you know, start. And they talk about the kids being separated from their families. Well, they're separated before they're even crossing the borders. You know, the cartels are renting kids out and using them to cross other people because they know that if they come with kids, they'll be safer. So they're using the same kids and then the kids deported so the kids can come back. It's a disgusting thing that people just don't think about, man. Like, and the kids are the victims. You know, the people fleeing across the ocean are victims, but we want to have our moral superiority. You know,
Yeah.
say that we're
Yeah.
we're better from our nice little air conditioned, you know, houses and laptops and iPhones. And all these
It's
people want is just a good life, whether in
mm-hmm,
Cuba or from anywhere south of the border.
mm-hmm. Agreed, man.
It's
Agreed,
crazy,
bro.
dude. And here you and I are just living the dream.
Debating over Zoom and
Yeah.
free thinking over Zoom here, bro. That's what
Yeah,
we're doing.
dude.
God, we can still do it, you know,
We can still do it here, man. And that's the thing. Like, as you know, what I think kind of got us off track was talking about writing. And the question I had was like, do you ever get, you know, not nervous or just you question, like, should I leave that in the script? How is like, are you working on new writing
yeah.
or any kind of like new shows? Or I know you said you're auditioning or anything, but how is this affecting like the projects, you know, going forward? I know you have a reading for your play,
Yeah,
but
yeah. So I'm gonna do a reading for the play here in Miami.
yeah,
Hopefully within the next 2 weeks. We're trying to settle down on the we're trying to nail down the space
yeah,
that we're gonna do it in, but that'll hopefully be happening within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm gonna do that reading. We'll see if we can get that play produced. But then I'm also writing it's a feature idea, but I'm breaking it down to a short film first, and hopefully we can do that. It's loosely based on an actor, a Cuban actor who defects to the United States, and it's loosely based on a friend of mine who he's a Cuban actor. He's living here in Miami now. He did a movie on Netflix that while he was in Cuba, an Irish film. They cast it out of Cuba and they shot it in Cuba. It was called Viva. And so I'm writing this story with him at the center of it, and
mhm.
we'll see how that goes. But it is tough to write right now, man. It's tough to write. For my own personal reasons. One, I got the kid, and I gotta
Mhm.
find the time to do it. Right? It's not easy, bro.
Preaching to the choir, man. Like I had, like, here's the thing. I had my daughter's two. So about a year before my daughter was born, about a year and a half before my daughter was born, before Rosa got pregnant, I was able to quit the survival job and focus fully on acting because I was already getting enough work. And I look back at that, especially in the last 2 months since my son was born. So there's two kids. One's a newborn and one's a toddler with a sleep regression. And I look back and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing with my time? Like all the ideas that I had ideas that I was writing then when I had no distractions, only an audition, or like if I booked something, I had to work that, but no distractions. You
Yeah.
know, there was a couple things I could have done. I could have gotten in much better shape because I had the time to do it.
Real
And I
talk.
had the ideas for writing. You know, I have my horror website, a podcast idea, and I didn't decide, or nothing clicked until after I had my kids. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, man, why didn't this stuff become more clear then?
I
Like the book that I've been writing, it was like so hard to just like pound out words, you know, boom, boom, boom. Like, am I able to do this? Or, you know, am I able to like, you know, why can't this story click? It didn't start clicking until like, oh, my daughter has a sleep regression and I can't sleep either. You know, so now I can't write, even though I want to write. You know what I mean? And now my son's born and is like, oh, I have this idea for a series. Like I was trying to submit something or trying to write a pilot. And of course, like I'm so sleep deprived. And it's like, how are you going to write? You know, so I totally get it.
Yeah,
Totally
bro.
get it. But here's the thing to think about, dude. If you can manage to do it during this time, as shitty as you think it might be, it probably is probably going to be one of the things that changes your life forever. If you're able to do it during this time right now.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Because now is the time. Like when it's fresh, you know, it's like if you're religious like me, it's like, you know, it's like it's never your time, it's God's time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you'll be hitting close to rock bottom and thinking, man, what is the deal? You know, like where are you at? You know, like, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's when you get this, or boom, that's when the idea strikes, or
right
boom, this random residual check comes in.
You're right about that. Yeah.
So I encourage you, is like, you know, there's gonna be times where you're gonna be pulled in all different directions, man. Your wife needs you to help with the baby, you know, house, dude, cleaning the house or just doing laundry. Dude, laundry is not the hard part. It's folding the clothes and putting them away. You know, if you can get past all that and realize, you know what, man, I need to do this now, you know, and you can do it. I think you're gonna appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. No, I got it, bro. I got it, dude.
Yeah,
Brother, I gotta start heading
so do I. Yeah.
out here. My wife is probably like, but
Yeah. Like,
I love this talk, man. This was great,
me too.
brother. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for joining us. So we have big things coming out, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you got Heels coming out. Yeah, we're plugging, dude.
Okay, we're plugging.
We're plugging right now.
Yeah, so Heels premieres on Starz August 15.
Yeah.
And then the podcast Dropping Character is available on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, and that comes out August 16, the first episode.
Amazing.
And we'll be dropping one episode every Monday till the end of the year.
Super, man. Go and subscribe to the podcast. I've already done it. You should do it. And get ready to watch Heels. I've seen the trailers. I've been following all the social media. Follow Robby. You know, it's gonna be big. It's only beginning. You know, it's barely. It's August 1st. There's still a lot of year left, man, and I'm excited to see Heels. And I'm dude. After this conversation, I really can't wait to hear the podcast. Like, awesome, I really can't wait to hear it, man. And I'm gonna plug it. Everyone, please, you know, give this man a follow on Instagram, on both Dropping Character and Robby Ramos.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate this, bro.
Absolutely.
And we got some stuff coming up the pike too. So I think you don't want to share yet, but
not yet, but
yeah. Your audience has to stay tuned, bro, to hear what you're
doing.
Stay
tuned. Yeah. There's some stuff happening. But everybody, thank you again. Sorry about the delay of not recording for so long. You know, life happens, and I'm just glad that you're here to witness this beautiful conversation that we had coming back. This is exactly what I needed on this Sunday. So, Robby, thank you. Good luck. And in the next year, we'll have you back in probably a year and see how super famous and successful you are. And you're probably going to have a school or a library named after you within the next 5 years.
Right on, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Be kind to one another. Have a good one.